What supplements do you recommend for people with MS? The Overcoming MS program recommends omega-3s and vitamin D. This question asker also takes a B complex and they take flaxseed oil to get their omega-3s. Do you have any other supplement recommendations for your patients?
So this is a really, really appropriate question. I don't think there's a family that I interact with in clinic that doesn't ask this at some point during our time working together. And I hate it when allopathic doctors say things like, "It doesn't matter what you eat," because it does matter what you eat. And anyone that has experimented with sugar and ultra processed foods may notice that their MS symptoms uptick big time. I think first and foremost, my first request before we talk about supplements is to think about what we're supplementing because you're supplementing your diet, right? And I think if there's an opportunity within your diet to pick whole foods, single ingredient foods, um, then you're going to be choosing some really excellent quality food for your body. And I guess I would rather someone spend a little extra time and money at the supermarket to buy salads with lots of different colors of fruits and vegetables than I would have them buy a supplement. All right, so I just want to state that in a perfect environment, we would really alter and up our food game before we got into supplements. That stated, you and I both live in the real world where sometimes it's very, very hard to pull off perfect eating and perfect diet. And that's where I think supplementing some of the nutrients is valuable. So I share the ideas of with overcoming MS that my first and foremost supplement is going to be vitamin D3. So it looks like when you look at the totality of the data, low levels of vitamin D correlate with bad MS outcomes. So when you look at groups of humans with MS that have a low vitamin D, they tend to do less well than groups of humans with a high level of vitamin D. And there's three ways you can get vitamin D. So if you go out in full sun in a halter top or naked for 15 minutes, you'll absorb 5,000 international units of D3. Of course, here in Ohio, you might get frostbite on some private parts, or your neighbors might call the police. And so sometimes that's not feasible, and it may not be feasible in South Wales either. Another way to do it is to eat an entire salmon, but I mean the whole fish. So the amount of fish that you would have to eat, like fatty fish, to get your D3 levels up would unfortunately be like the entire salmon. And I don't know anyone that can do that, or at least not on a consistent basis. So the value of a D3 supplement is it's a really easy, tolerable way of boosting your D3. D3 is better absorbed in the human body than D2. And so I oftentimes am asking my Ohioans to take around 5,000 international units, but we're using blood levels to guide us so that we know how much to give. So then what's next? Next, I like a multivitamin. And the reason I like a multivitamin next is in case we're not getting all the micronutrients and minerals in the other vitamins, if we add a multivitamin in the mix, even if you have sort of a yucky American diet, we're still going to get a lot of the odds and ends that we need. So I like a multivitamin. Next, I like omega-3, just like the Overcoming MS suggests. I think that supplementing omega-3 is really fantastic. In one of my YouTube videos, I made an error and I said that I recommended flaxseed oil. And I shouldn't have said that. I should have said flax seeds because both have omega-3, but the flax seed also provides some fiber that you miss when you do the oil. So I really think flax seeds is an outstanding way of getting omega-3s. Fatty fish is another way of getting omega-3s. And a lot of my patients take an omega-3 supplement, and I think that's outstanding.
Yeah, I do the same.
Beyond,
I take an algae oil supplement every day. And then I also eat chia seeds and hemp, and there's a lot of
yeah,
walnuts. There's loads of
yeah, so
whole foods that have omega-3.
you're getting it from a couple of different angles, and I really like that. I think that's outstanding. Then we get into, then the supplement discussion becomes a little bit fractured and esoteric. If my patient is struggling with energy, then I may recommend levocarnitine or creatine. I may recommend a B complex. if my patient is struggling with spasticity or insomnia, or if my patient is struggling with some GI issues, then I oftentimes recommend different types of magnesium. So it really kind of depends on what specifics we're trying to tackle once we get beyond that. I am a big proponent of probiotics for almost all of my patients. And along with that, prebiotic fiber, I'm a big fan of. And so those are things that I'm very keen on.
Those are great. And I think that it sounds like there's some general recommendations and then talk to your team about what your symptoms are and what might be done to supplement wise to alleviate those.
One
What
last,
are
one last real
some
quick
of the
comment.
best?
Sorry, I apologize for being long-winded on a
Yeah,
Sunday.
I feel like I'm a little glitchy. So it's
I apologize. I was just going to say before we move on to a different
sure.
topic that going back to my initial comment about paying attention to quality of food, I, oftentimes I will notice a patient has a pretty solid vitamin list, but they're not getting enough protein in their diet each day. They're not getting enough fiber in their diet each day. And so paying attention to getting a gram of protein per kilo of body weight and making sure that you're getting like 28 grams of fiber, those are very, very important things. But I oftentimes try to tackle that with actual real food as opposed to supplements. Okay, now I'll stop with the supplements.